Oh,
All right.
are.
I think we're ready to get started. It is 3:32.
Okay, welcome to our Collective Care Team webinar on Tuesday afternoon, on a beautiful day in Long Island, at least. Remember to mute your audio while you're on. We've met a lot of dogs and little kids on our webinars. If you have questions, put them in the chat box. We are recording the webinar, and participants are going to receive a follow-up email with links to the slides, recording, and handouts, as well as a evaluation afterwards. Our presenters today are Mary Banaszak, who's our current president of NYSCA and a retired school counselor, and Lisa Milady, who's an elementary school counselor and our current past president. And this is the intellectual property piece of paper we got to show. And here's our presenters. And without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to them.
There we go.
All right. Well, welcome everyone. We're so glad that you are here today to join us to talk about the Collective Care Team. I will introduce myself. I am Mary Banaszak. I am the current president of the New York State School Counselors Association. And I am a retired school counselor, recently retired in June of last year from the Victor Central School District. And I was a counselor in Victor for 35 years, started at the junior high, was a counselor on special assignment as Committee on Special Ed chairperson for 12 years, and then went back to the high school to complete my career as coordinator of counseling for the last number of years at Victor High School. So I am thrilled to be here and grateful to be partnering with Lisa Milady.
All right. Well, thank you. And hello. I am Lisa Milady. I am the current past president of NYSCA. Along the way, I was also the VP of elementary. I have been an elementary counselor through and through. I'm in my 36th year, and I am thrilled to be here today. And I want to give a shout out to all of our NYSCA people who are here today. And I would love for Dr. Robert Rotunda and Nancy DiStefano to introduce themselves before we get rocking and rolling.
Hi, I'm Bob Rotunda. I'm the current operations manager, and been doing this for a couple of years. I was a middle school counselor at Simpson Middle School in South Huntington, and chair of the department. And it's good to see everybody on this Tuesday afternoon.
Welcome, everyone. I'm Nancy DiStefano, the Executive Director of NYSCA, and I just started my role at the beginning of October. So I'm happy to be on this journey with you. We have a great program designed for you today. In my history, I have been a school counselor at the high school level for Shenendehowa school districts. I've been a director of counseling at Guilderland Central Schools, and I recently retired as the assistant superintendent for instruction at the Washington Saratoga BOCES. So we've got Mary and Lisa, I'm going to turn it over to you to get us going on the collective care team. And you're going to enjoy this very much because they are experts in this field. So Mary and Lisa, it's all you.
Thank you so much, Nancy. All right, we need to go on to the next slide. And there
Thank you,
are.
Nancy. Yes, that's us. All right. As we move on, I am going to just talk to you a little bit about the purpose of the collective care team.
But
I'm going to ask everybody to mute if you can. That would be helpful as we're recording. So the collective care team, the purpose of it began with the NYSED Every Student Succeeds Act. The S Estate Plan aligned with our school counseling regulations by including provisions that encourage schools and districts to adopt a whole school, whole community, whole child, multi-tiered model. This model promotes positive school climates that in turn improve student outcomes. Now we know that school climate is the way school culture affects a child's sense of safety and acceptance, and consequently is a critical determinant of their ability to focus on the task of learning. We know that research shows that the whole child approach with an emphasis on social emotional learning will lead to improved outcomes for children. In fact, the quality of the school climate may be the single most predictive factor in any school's capacity to promote student achievement.
I love that. And it's so important to remember the purpose of the collective care team is to promote student wellness and a positive learning environment. And moving on, I just want to talk about a definition that NYSET has provided for us as advocates and for all of us to use. What's most important is about NYSET's definition is the members of the collective care team are school counselors, school nurses, school psychologists, and school social workers. Together, we all play an integral role making sure that students' needs are met. And what we're going to do today is really talk about
Why can I not hear anything here?
theory and practice. Please make sure you are on mute while you are listening to our presentation. We are so happy everybody's here today. And for theory and practice, today we're going to talk about how to balance that out. I know that we are not just speaking to counselors today. I know what
can't
we
hear
are
anything
doing
here.
is talking to administrators and to chair people, as well as I saw there's a nurse out there. I'm so thrilled to see the whole collective care team here to learn about the theory. How did the collective care team come to be? And then in the end, we're really going to talk about how to put good things in practice. And the reason we're doing this, the next slide, is because if you only try to put something in place without understanding the whys and where it came from, I really don't think you will meet with as much success. You will meet with better success if you really understand the ins and the outs of why it is that the collective care team works, and most importantly, how New York State laws, rules, and regulations have woven the collective care team philosophy into many of the layers of our regulations. So today we're going to give you the theory, and we're going to help by giving you some actionable steps that you can turn around and put into place. Little steps to start with, and hopefully at the end, you will have big success with the collective care team.
So as Lisa stated, we're really going to be looking at the collective care team timeline and history. We're going to discuss the theory, and then you should walk away with some actionable steps towards best practice.
Thank you, Mary. And I'm sorry, I just went ahead. I was so excited and I talked about everything. Here is the timeline. This is the first step in our journey today. As you can see, in 2019, the most important step in the collective care team is that NYSED, the Board of Regents, requires the implementation of the Comprehensive Developmental School Counseling Guidance Program. This is important because within the regulations, it states that you work with your partners in the educational mental health school setting. From there, in 2020, we all know 2020 was a rough year, and NYSCA had a virtual conference, and Dr. Mandy Savitz-Romer was a keynote speaker, and she was the first one to give us the idea. She was the inspiration behind the collective care team. From there, NYSCA embraced this idea, and the current president at the time started working on a document to talk about how the training in different programs impacts what your role is within the school setting. From there, NYSCA developed a partnership with NYSET and we are helping to help implement our comprehensive developmental school counseling guidance program, which is part 102J. And then we went on to developing a collective care team partnership with all of the associations. With the school counselors, we met with the school psychologists and the school social workers and the school nurses. We all came together to promote the collective care team. From there, we met NYSET. And NYSET loved the language we were speaking, how working together we effectively meet the mental health needs of our students in New York State. And they were incredible in terms of their support. And in 2023, we actually worked and did a lobby day where all of us together, representatives, met, and we met with legislators to support bills and to support the understanding of the collective care team. And from there, it goes on. We are now doing comp cam presentations. We did them 2 summers in a row, helping school districts to understand the mandates of the comprehensive school counseling program. And in that, we infuse the importance of the collective care team. We were in ASCA at our LDI, and it's also called Elevate, and we were asked to speak to our work promoting the collective care team at the American School Counselors Association Elevate Conference. And currently, we are planning our own advocacy day to highlight the collective care team and the importance of it. As we are doing one for NYSCA, we're also doing one with NYSET. And the good news is every time we are sitting with other stakeholders, we are hearing, for example, Ed Trust, they mentioned the collective care team. The time we are taking to educate anyone and everyone about the collective care team, it is time well spent because ultimately it meets students' needs.
So I'm going to speak with you a little bit about the New York State Education Department guidance document of Part 100.2J, the regulations that focus on school counseling. The guidance document covers information such as the services that school counselors are mandated to provide to each and every student. So counselors are to develop a core curriculum, which should be provided to every grade, K through 12, in different grade bands, K5, 6 through 12, and then K through 12. This core curriculum can be provided directly or indirectly to students. The plan requires a team approach. And this is where we really saw the collective care team mentioned for the first time. It was right in that guidance document that we are more effective when we can work collaboratively with the other providers within our building. In addition to the teachers and administrators, it really takes a team approach of school counselors, school psychologists, school social workers, and school nurses working together to support the child and meet their needs. So there are requirements for individual annual progress reviews for students in grades 6 through 12. That individual annual progress review is meant for the counselor to sit down with each and every child that they are responsible for and talk to them about their strengths and what their hopes for the future are, what they envision for themselves, and actually help the students talk about, geez, where can those strengths take me? It is a strength-based approach. And then also what they can do to set goals for themselves for that year. Do they need to improve their attendance? Do they need to improve their attention to task in class? Do they need to improve their follow-up on homework? These are things that the counselor will have that conversation about, as well as thinking about the future and what they're learning about, why they're learning it, and how it's going to impact them in the future. We use data to identify the needs for children in our programs and identify what lessons we might need to include in our comprehensive plan based on that data. And then how effective our comprehensive lessons were based upon data. So we're looking at the components of program development as well as delivery. In addition to that, we want to be sure that every school has an advisory council. This is a council of folks that are from all different backgrounds and aspects of our school community. It may include an administrator at the building level, at the district level, school board member, parents, teachers, other collective care team members, and students. The advisory council is a critical component that is mandated that we meet with twice a year to review what we've done in our comprehensive plan and what still needs to be done. And they give us their feedback that helps us really evolve our plan into something that is useful and meaningful and understood by all in our school community. The advisory council meetings must have minutes that go to the Board of Education, and there must be an end of the year report after those advisory council meetings. We want to ensure through the guidance document that our certification and our titles match each other and match the responsibilities that we are required to do in our schools. So that's very important. And what we hear from school counselors all across the state and social workers and psychologists is, gee, we really wish people understood our role. And so part of what we do is really to advocate for our role and help folks understand that. The guidance document summary also includes a review of our program implementation, our BOCES programs, making sure that students have access, that our titles are accurate, and our competencies are delineated. As you can see from the slide, oops, if you could go back, Nancy, the part 100.2J slide, the last slide, there we go. Notes at the bottom, it is important to emphasize the positive effects that school social workers, school psychologists, school counselors, school nurses, health educators, teachers, and parents have on student success when they collaborate and work as a team, offering their respective professional expertise to support the whole child.
I love that. And I love how our own New York State regulations say we are supposed to work within a collective care team. And then here is, I feel like a little bit of a fangirl right now. Here's a picture of Dr. Mandy Savitz-Romer, a Harvard graduate from the Harvard Graduate School of Education. And I'm going to share how she inspired the work we're doing for the collective care team. She has written many articles, and she has, if you Google her, you can find all of the different work she does. And if you go on to the next slide, one of the articles she wrote was "We Are the Heartbeat of the School." And yes, this is a counselor-based article because she writes she does counselor-based studies, but counselors are an integral part of a school's student support systems, working alongside psychologists, social workers, and nurses to offer direct and indirect group and individual services. That was, I gave you the information. It's from ASCA, and way in the bottom, if you really want to read the whole article, you'll be able to find it. It is amazing how it supports what we are saying about the collective care team.
So we wanted to show you some documents that have been used in the past. This was one of the first documents that NYSCA created to try to help explain our role as compared to our collective care team colleagues' roles and training. So we utilize this for a long time to help people understand what our specialized training look like and how we differ. Um, as Lisa talked about the importance of a multi-tiered system of support, we utilize those tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 references in this document. And then we moved on to the next. So after we created that document, we met with our partners, the school social workers, school psychologists, as Lisa had said, and created a more comprehensive description of our roles to try to delineate it even further. And that looks like this pamphlet. Many of you may have a copy of this pamphlet in your schools, or you may have seen it on our NISCA website. But State Ed worked with our pupil services team of psychologists, social workers, counselors, and nurse organization leaders to create a snapshot of what our roles are and give a scenario of how we might utilize our unique training and backgrounds to support a child given a particular situation. And what we really wanted to highlight through this brochure is that we each have unique training and skill sets, but we work together, but we are not interchangeable. We are collaborative, but we are not interchangeable.
And here's where our story continues. It is amazing how we start with our commissioner regulations that say we need to use a collective care team. Then we have it infused with what NYSED is saying, and we work together with our organizations. And then we had NYSED, who understood the scope and importance of teaching everyone in New York State about the collective care team. And so you can see some of our efforts. Here is Dr. Christy LeBron, who is currently our president-elect for NISCA, and we were able to be part of a panel at the Black, Puerto Rican, Hispanic, and Asian Legislative Caucus. It's kind of like it's starting with a whisper. What we're doing is starting to get out there. And from there, we have had 2 successful lobby days, and you can see Mary's there, I'm there, and you can see legislators, assembly people all coming, and the president of NYSED is right there in the middle. All these people together understanding the collective care team. And if you go to NYSED's website, there is information on the collective care team. Mary's school was visited by NYSED, and they were able to highlight her gold standard at Victor School, explaining how the collective care team works in real time. And it was a beautiful moment.
So I love this diagram Lisa created, this Venn diagram of each of our roles and how we have our unique roles and responsibilities, and yet we overlap in the center and share some responsibilities that all of us do. So as we look at that, we can see that school counselors are really mandated to provide tier 1 of the MTSS model. That comprehensive plan supporting each and every student. We have a mandated curriculum. We are mandated within that curriculum to provide social emotional skill development, academic success strategies, college and career preparation, all in addition to the daily triage we know we all do and try to fit everything in around, as well as our responsive counseling that we are using to support students. And for those higher level of needs, we know it's our role to refer those children to another practitioner, whether it's a school psychologist or the school social worker or a mental health counselor. Who might be housed in our school or in the community. I love that the school nurse is part of our collective care team because I know that our school nurse was oftentimes the first line of defense. The students would come down complaining of a stomach ache or a headache and want to go home. And she would call me and say, "Can you come down to my office? I have so and so here, and I think they need some support." And I would bring them back to my office and we'd start to peel the layers of the onion to figure out what was going on and how we could help that child. One of the most important pieces of the Venn diagram here is that all of us have responsibility for parent communication. And oftentimes that school nurse is the one who's talking to the parent about illness or medications or treatment plans, and the counselor talking about concerns in the classroom, the social worker talking about maybe food insecurity or housing insecurity, and the school psychologist around those mental health needs, as well as perhaps even preparation for Committee on Special Ed meetings and 504 meetings for those identified students. Each bubble highlights the responsibilities of each professional, and you're welcome to use this to help in your school communicate the different roles. Lisa?
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
I'm sorry,
No,
that's
no,
me.
that's, no, that's
Sorry, I
okay.
thought that's me. So I just wanted to share that the collective care team collaborates to ensure that every student's needs are met throughout their school years and beyond. You know, as school counselors, I don't know how many of you are at the high school level, but when they leave us, the issues and the supports they need often travel with them to their post-high school plan. So whether it's on their job, in the community, in the service, if they have registered for one of our services, or at college, we often have to bridge that transition to support the student in the next step. Just as elementary counselors speak with the intermediate school or the middle school and then the high school, that communication piece where we're all collaborating to support that student is really such a beautiful thing. It's one of the most important aspects of our work. So again, working within our clearly defined roles ensures a continuity of service. We work as a collective unit with each member applying our unique expertise to meet the student's needs. And when we think about it and communicate about it to others, we must repeat the mantra that we are not interchangeable. We cannot do each other's jobs. We are not trained to do the job of the other professionals in our collective care team. We work collaboratively and cohesively within our unique professional roles.
And this is another layer of our New York State standards that supports the collective care team. These bulleted points are directly from New York State Education's Department MTSS pilot framework. And it points out how the importance of SEL, which comes from having a strong tier 1 program. It is associated with a greater well-being and better school performance. There is a significant relationship between students' social and emotional skills in kindergarten and their outcomes 13 to 19 years later. It starts in elementary school. It starts with the tier 1 program. Having a strong collective care team means that you will have a strong MTSS model. Students with pro-social skills are more likely to graduate from high school on time, complete a college degree, and achieve and maintain full-time employment. This is the goal of education, and we want to set up a system that works. The MTSS system began with academics And now it is important to look at it through the lens of social and emotional development. Now, we've been on the road. we've been going and we've been talking and we've been working with different associations, and we've had a lot of meetings to discuss really what's happening. And as we have been lobbying and meeting and talking with other associations, this is what we have learned. We have learned and we accept that student support services look very different from school to school throughout New York State, not even just Long Island or New York City, upstate New York. Not every school is going to have a counselor, a social worker, a psychologist, and a nurse. Can you imagine? It's not even mandated to have a nurse in your school. And so there's a lot of work that needs to be done in terms of advocating and educating how it is important for districts to use their funding to make sure that they have the complement of the collective care team. We've also learned that many schools are inundated with needs and are working in a crisis mode. That means day to day, on a daily, going in reactively, working through the day. And the collective care team is a model that you can use to move from reactive to proactive. And this is how, and you do it through clearly defining the collective care team and dun, 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 working, next slide, working effectively with the MTSS model. Yes, we know it was created for academic purposes, but it is important for us to understand it is the best way to meet social and emotional needs. This is not a new philosophy, but it is key and essential to using your support, mental health support personnel effectively. The essential elements are in each school, tier 1 is delivered to each and every student. Using the model moves schools from reactive to proactive, and it is essential that administration sets MTSS as a priority. As counselors, social workers, psychologists, we are all dedicated workers to meeting students' needs. And we are very cooperative in terms of what is set before us through administration. If you're sitting in administration, it's important for you to start thinking about how can I line up my caregivers to work within tier 1, the core instruction for each and every student. Who's going to be handling tier 2? Who's going to be handling tier 3?
And I want to share the key aspects of MTSS's importance. First of all, that it is a whole child approach, which we know only helps support everything about student success. MTSS addresses the entirety of a student's needs by integrating the academic, social, emotional, and behavioral domains. What Lisa said, that we need to move from being reactive to proactive and preventative. Nothing's more frustrating than feeling like you're trying to play catch up on every student and the needs they have, and feeling like you're behind the 8 ball and you're not able to keep up. Being proactive and preventative is one of the positive aspects of MTSS because it's a prevention-oriented model that we can use universal screeners to identify our struggling students early, and it provides timely tiered interventions before problems become obstacles. And it is based upon decision-making that is data-driven. The framework relies on collecting and analyzing student data to inform instruction, monitor progress, and make objective decisions about student needs and the effectiveness of supports. Sound familiar? Very much like what we have in our Part 100.2J regulations as school counselors. This is very similar to what the New York State Education Department says our comprehensive curriculum has to have. In addition to those aspects, it creates opportunities. So, one of the things that's unique about being a school counselor versus the old fashioned guidance counselor is that school counselors' mandate is to look at learning environments and ensure that we have appropriate programs to meet every student's needs, regardless of their background and starting point, to make sure they can receive the support necessary to reach their full potential. We want to be sure that it provides a continuum of support that intensifies as needed, allowing students to receive more targeted interventions at the higher levels if needed. And MTSS helps schools improve the quality of instruction by matching the evidence-based interventions and high-quality instruction to the individual and group student needs, much as our collective care team work together does. We each provide input and identify the needs for that child to have improved outcomes. So the last part of the slide is really improved outcomes, addressing the challenges early to contribute to better academic performance, social emotional development, and positive post-secondary outcomes for students. Just think about it. If we can teach students problem-solving skills, self-advocacy skills, how that affects them when they go to get a job or they go to college and have to navigate a dorm and a roommate, those skills will be so valuable throughout their K-12 experience as well as beyond. We have a streamlined process academically to organize school resources and initiatives into a clear collaborative system. We want to ensure that our counselors and collective care team staff also can discuss and define our clear collaborative system with our unifying practices across the district to provide consistent support to every child. And the MTSS model supports educators. We know many times it's the teachers or administrators who are in our office saying, how can I help the student? What can we do next? Do you have any ideas? And the MTSS model, along with the collective care team approach, really helps us brainstorm and bring all those ideas to the table to create sound practices to support our students.
Isn't it amazing? You now have a full understanding that the collective care team is data-driven, it's evidence-based practice, and it is supported through many different regulations put forth through the New York State School Education Department. And so now we're going to morph and go into some ideas for implementing the collective care team model in your school and in your district. And you really have to start with a conversation. I do hope, and I am putting into the universe, that each and every one of you who is sitting there right now can think right now of their champion, of the person who stands by them, the person who understands your passion and your heart. Hopefully it's an administrator, and that you can go to a person that you can say, hey, I am turned on by the evidence and the data, and that the collective care team is really the way to go. And once you share your passion and the information and everything we've shared with you today, start working within whoever your team is. I understand not everybody has a collective care team, but the people who you are with, define your roles. Say, hey, today I'm going to be the person who is doing this. It is my training to do more classroom lessons. I want to push in and do more classroom lessons. I would like to do, it is my training to do a therapeutic group. It is my training to reach out to the community and to support attendance. It is my training, because remember, we all have a master's degree that we put our blood, sweat, and tears into, and we learned how to effectively work with children in different ways. And as you are working with your team, one of the stumbling blocks I know as a team member is we can sometimes hold on to a student and take full responsibility. This is my student. And if they are in crisis, or if they are sad, or if they are upset, it is up to me to call that parent. I have the relationship. And we all love the feeling we have when we successfully work with our students. One of the effective parts of a collective care team is knowing that if your team member is working within their role, perhaps as a counselor, I am teaching tier 1 lessons in my building. And one of my students who I do work with, and I love my kids, is having a hard time. It's important for me to trust that I can focus on what I'm doing and know that my collective care team member will take care of my students' needs. We are all able to meet a child's needs as we work within our roles. I'll quickly give you a little example. I worked with one of my students who was sharing with me how hard things were at home, and he happens to have a health issue. He's a diabetic, and the nurses, he has a one-to-one nurse who walks with him, and was talking about how she's having a hard time communicating with the home about what his numbers are as he's coming to school. And I listened and handed all of these concerns to my team. And the next day, our school social worker met with the mom and the nurses, our school nurse and the nurse's aide, the principal and the assistant principal all met together, and the school psychologist. I wasn't there, but that's okay because it wasn't my job to reach out to the community. It wasn't my nursing background to make a plan to help this student with their numbers. I removed myself from that meeting. I started it, but it wasn't important for me as a team member to be there while I was doing other things. And as you are starting the conversation about collective care team, it's important for you, your administration, and your team to delineate the priorities of your school. What does your individual school need to turn reactive to proactive, to start working that MTSS approach so that the school climate improves, that more students are being reached, each and every student is being reached. And that is when you start to say, it's important if someone is teaching class lessons that they can keep to that schedule and they can get into the classrooms and do what they need to do. Create programs, reach out to the community, work on attendance, whatever it is, the priority of the school, look at it through the collective care team's lens. We all have specialized training that we can put into a goal that helps the school.
You know, Lisa, I think that's so important. And we often talk about that. The child has a circle of support, not just
Yes.
one person to support them in the school. And I think your example was a perfect example of that, that the
Yeah.
parent knows there's a whole circle of support, doesn't rest on just one.
Absolutely. And as you are going back to your buildings to put together ideas and thoughts on the collective care team, be sure to lean back on New York State mandates. It's important in conversations to talk about the requirements of the Part 102J, our comprehensive developmental school counselor guidance program. Look at the mandates for character education. This is a fabulous way to start putting tier 1 programs into place. And you don't have to do this as a counselor alone. This can be a collaborative event with your teachers and with everyone. We also have the power of the Dignity for All Students Act, which is another tier 1 program for each and every student, doing this with fidelity, making sure that every student feels safe to be who they are and their dignity is protected. That will turn a building around. We have Aaron's Law about teaching children how to advocate for themselves, recognizing uncomfortable feelings and who to turn to. Another amazing part of our New York State mandates. And there are so many others that I can't talk about it right now. But it's important to know, as schools, we have mandates. And we have mandates that you can start rolling over into tier 1 activities. And we are delineating the roles that everybody does, so these tier 1 activities get done.
I want you to know that you do not have to reinvent the wheel.
Yeah.
There are free lessons that are aligned with ASCA standards on our NYSCA website at NYSCA.org. We have a free YouTube channel where every one of our professional development webinars that have been recorded are housed on our YouTube channel. In every region of the state, and we have 10 regions with multiple counties in each region has a regional governor on the NYSCA board currently. They are our boots on the ground who are there to answer your questions, provide you with ideas and support, or get you to the person who can answer your question. Our regional governors, level VPs, we have an elementary VP, a middle school VP, and a high school VP. So if you are experiencing a challenge that is specific to your level, you can reach out to your level VP and say, how are other elementary counselors across the state dealing with this? Middle school counselors, high school counselors dealing with this, and get that support. You can also join our Advocacy Day, the NYSCA Advocacy Day on March 9th in Albany, as well as the NYSET Advocacy Day if you're interested in joining us on May 5th. And I hope you know that our NYSCA conference will be, geez, it's less than a month away now. It's coming up quickly here in Rochester on November 13th through the 15th. You can still register for the conference for either 1 day, 2 days, or all 3 days. And hotel rooms are booking quickly. We have until October 22nd that our hotel block will remain open. So if you have not made your reservations yet, please register and do so. And please know that NYSCA members get a discount for the conference.
Oh, and so there's 2 other things that you can do. You can see here there are 2 different QR codes. The first one says, join us, become a member. This is for individual membership. And the second one, I think each and every one of you should bring back to your districts. NYSCA offers a discount if a school will buy membership for each of their counselors. And this QR code brings you to the 50% discount for membership. And it's so important to be involved because of professional development, because of our boots on the ground, willing to work with each and every one of you. So these are 2 important QR codes. I can keep talking, almost give an intermission. So you have time to get your phones out. Hum, 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 get your phones out. But then again, this will come home to you and you can join at a later time.
So at this point, I'd like to open it up to questions. Does anyone have any questions that they've thought about during the presentation that you'd like to ask us?
Or any reactions? Did anything hit your heart where you have either a positive or negative to reaction to anything we said? Please feel free to just unmute yourself and shout out.
Hi, this is Marilyn Marsilio, And I'm calling from East Hampton High School. Can you hear me?
Yes. Hi, Marilyn.
Hi.
Hi,
I just
Marilyn.
ask how we're going to align this well with a portrait of a graduate, which seems to be a lot of the communication we're getting now through our administration on
Mhm.
how we can help students and what the goals are in New York State.
I think it really aligns beautifully with the portrait of a graduate expectations.
Mhm.
Our comprehensive lessons are really geared towards exploring students' interests and strengths, as well as what their needs may be, so that we can address those proactively through our comprehensive lessons at the Tier 1 level. So as we begin that work and look at our grade 6 through 12 individual progress reviews, we're going to be looking at it through a lens of the portrait of a graduate. What is that student's passions? What are their interests or hobbies? And where might that lead them in the future? I think that's so exciting to be able to think about all the possibilities there are for students. We've come a
Like,
long way.
we really
I
have.
agree. I
And
agree.
that's
Individualizing education really and working with students using our, tier 1, tier 2, all those support mechanisms, but also trying to personalize whatever the goal of the student and the family for each as they end, because I'm in the secondary school, as they finish their education 9 through 12.
and I I want to also say, in my opinion, these 6 elements of the framework that we're using for the portrait of a graduate, each and every high school graduate is expected to be an engaged citizen, a communicator, self-directed and resilient, a continuous learner, empathetic. There are different character elements that are built into the portrait of a graduate that students need to demonstrate in order to graduate. And as far as I'm concerned, it is the tier 1 programs that teach empathy, teach problem solving, teach how to be a global citizen and a deep thinker. These are all the elements that weave together the success, not just academic, but the social and emotional success and the ability to deal with rigor that students will need to have a graduation certificate from New York State. And I think that's an important element to put into place all the way down to kindergarten, because I will say, I believe high school graduation begins in kindergarten.
Mhm. Agree.
Yeah. Thank you, Marilyn.
Sure.
Any other questions, thoughts, comments, reactions?
I'm wondering if folks came in with an understanding of collective care team or if this was new information.
Oh, great question. Come on in. Let us know if this was a new idea or you were or you had an idea about it. If someone could be so brave, let us know.
Hi, Angela Terlavoro from Walk Hill High School in Ulster County. Can you hear me?
Yes. Hi, Angela.
Hi. So, it actually put a name to what we do. So, we have a similar model, but we just never named it as that.
Yeah.
So that kind of makes it feel like we're onto something. That we started it, naming it.
Yeah.
Like naming feelings, naming whenever
Yeah.
you name something, you kind of start to own it.
And it legitimizes the work we do.
Right.
Absolutely. Thank you for
Yeah.
that connection.
Yep. Thanks.
And I think, Angela, it's so important that we use the same terminology. Even when we work with students and we teach them terminology that they can use that everybody understands, the more we use the same terminology across the state, the more people will understand, just as you did. Oh my gosh, we've already got this started. We're on our way. This is wonderful. So I'm really excited that you have it already started and now you can use the terminology.
Thank
I
you.
love that.
Thanks.
And I just want to say in the comments, we have Jacelyn, who said she knew about it, but it's hard to implement. Counselors in our school district are often the go-to for everything. Our scope is in a gray area sometimes. And I feel that. I've experienced that. I think we all have. And it is important, perhaps you can take the discussion about our roles and delineating who is doing what. Perhaps that's a seed that can plant in your heart to help your team understand how you can best go throughout the day without the burden of everything falling on your shoulders, because that is not good for our own mental health as providers in a school system. Thank you for sharing that.
So Janelle asked if we could talk about barriers to implementation. Administrative and superintendent support, she said, is necessary, and I agree wholeheartedly, Janelle. Some suggestions on how to achieve this in our districts. I think Lisa touched on it when she talked about finding your champion. And if you can find an administrator who says, I want to help, this is something I can help with, who will listen and understand and even take one baby step on the journey with you, that's where you start. Certainly administrative support is key. And I know in many, many districts and schools within districts, there's been a lot of turnover and new administrators are coming in and trying to get their own feet wet with all the new learning that they have. But oftentimes it's the PPS staff who supports that administrator too in the building. And so anytime you can plant a seed, as Lisa said, and help them realize, this is what we should be doing. How about we give this to so-and-so who should be doing this work? Let me see if my colleague is available to support you with this, because this is really under their skill set versus mine. And we all work together, but we each have unique skill sets. So helping to teach, support, and clarify every little step of the way is a great way to get started. It doesn't happen overnight, folks. We
No.
know that. We know
No.
that.
I would thank you, Mary. Oh, like we're champions for each other. Yay, yes, yes, yes. And I want to add on that we as workers need to do our job, right? We need to fulfill whatever it is that our principal puts out for us. If ever you can create a 10-minute slot, a 20-minute slot where you can say, okay, I'm getting this all done. I've created a framework from 10:15 to 10:30. I would like to do an attendance program, a tier 1 check-in or a tier 2 check-in, whatever it is that you start with an idea, a doable idea. You make a SMART goal, something that is little that you can start to infuse in what you already do. Find a way to start to succeed, because in my heart of hearts, nothing succeeds like success. And it could be creating a framework with a piece of paper with your team. One of the things that we did that was a game changer was create an actual prep time for the school psychologist, for the social worker, for the nurse, and for myself, where we know this is our uninterrupted time. So I know a program I want to put in place, something I want to do. This is my time where I can say, team, I'm going to do this. Thank you for your support. It is our way to create the freedom of our interventions. And it starts with your principal saying, I support that you contractually deserve this every day. How many of us go in there and say, oh, I didn't eat lunch today? But when you put it down and you say, here is an idea, and I'd like to put this in place, that's how you start. And always go with a plan in place. Don't ever sit down with someone and say, hey, how can we make a collective care team? That's not going to work. You have to go and say, can we start with this philosophy by saying this person is going to do this and this person is going to do that? First, talk about it and then start planning it out. It's a little thing. Start with one small thing. I hope that helps.
I love that, Lisa. And you could even create your own Venn diagram, like
Yeah.
we showed you in the
Yeah.
slides. But Lisa mentioned something really important, because one of the barriers we heard in our comp camps was time.
Mhm.
People don't have the time to create a plan. And what we said was, if you can get a recurring meeting on your calendars, even if it's a 15-minute or 20-minute slot of time every other week, where you can meet as the collective care team and dedicate that you will be there for 20 minutes and hold off all emergencies that may not
Mhm.
be truly emergencies,
Yeah.
just for 20 minutes, building in that time to talk together or to plan together, and scheduling your own time for that little break in your day, which you're supposed to have contractually, whether it's your lunch time or your planning time. Those are things you can do that start small but can really have a big impact.
It's a long run game. There is nothing quick to education and changing any current systems. It is a long run game. I hope we were an inspiration today. That is our goal. Here is a QR code. Please take out your phones. And it is the fastest, quickest survey. We'd like to find out who's there, what level, what job you do, how we can serve you, and if we can do anything more to help you and your school.
Thank you so much for joining us today. I hope as you take this survey, this gives us data as to our next professional development. We want to provide you the information you need. So please help us out and let us know what you need, and we'll be glad to follow up with you.
Thank you. Speaking of which, we have a couple of webinars coming up. One this Thursday. Yep, this Thursday. I'm looking at my calendar. Tapping the leader within from Self to Systems. And next week, on the 29th, strategic counseling practices to boost academic and social development. You can still register for both of those. They're right on our website. And you'll probably get an email or two before them. Those are coming up. And you'll see the logo for our conference, which you can still register for, obviously. And we hope to see you in Rochester. Here's some commercial announcement, as well as we got to put this back on the screen one more time. Thank you for attending. Hope to see you next time. As we said earlier, we'll email home a certificate of attendance for those who attended, a link to the recording, a link to the slides, and a link to the summary of the meeting in the next couple of days.
Bob, I'm seeing in the chat that our QR code is not taking them to the right link. So if we could correct that before we send the slides out, that would be great.
It takes us to the link. The survey is in edit mode, so we're not able to like check the questions.
Yeah,
So
we'll
if
also
somebody
put a
just
link to the
changes
survey in the.
mode.
Yeah, we'll put a link to the surveys in the email that we sent home as well.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, and I think I might have just taken out school counselor while I was trying to do the survey. You know,
Appreciate the effort.
exposure.
Too much editing. Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you
Okay.
all.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you,
Appreciate you
everyone.
joining us.